That previous game, of course, was Robert Griffin III's NFL debut, a familiar theme for Saints fans watching rookie quarterbacks or unproven quarterbacks or average quarterbacks have brilliant games against the New Orleans Saints. We've seen way too much of that over the past 3 seasons. Ken Trahan, sportsNOLAtv, make it 4 seasons really, because 3 of the 4 have been disastrous for the Saints defense. And it was a disaster in the nation's capital or thereabouts as the Saints got absolutely trucked by the Redskins, 47-14, and 526 total yards for the Redskins. And they really kind of shut it down in the fourth quarter. It could have been a lot more. And of course, Kirk Cousins having a career game, 4 touchdown passes. That's his career best. Perfect passer rating as well. Brandon Cooks, the only real bright spot for the Saints, although he did have a key drop. He now has 5 touchdown catches in his last 3 games. And there's no way to sugarcoat this. This was a truly awful performance by the New Orleans Saints. Worst loss point differential-wise in the history of the Sean Payton era, which of course includes Drew Brees. So as a result, it's a terrible list to look at, but let's look at it anyway. 33-point loss to Washington becomes number 1. Remember the season opener in 2007 at Indianapolis? Much ado about nothing. Last year's game at Carolina, which was an embarrassment. The road game at Seattle in 2013. And of course, the 2012 game against the Giants under Steve Spagnuolo against his former team, and who, by the way, is back with the Giants now, and maybe doesn't look so bad to Saints fans now, but I don't know. That's a topic for later in the show about defensive coordinators. Speaking of which, no news to speak of as of yet regarding the Saints coaching situation. Sean Payton addressing that on Monday at his weekly press availability, and he stated that, using the word absolutely, Coach Rob Ryan is still with the Saints, but he also mentioned that he has not met with Mickey Loomis yet to talk about such matters. I still think something's going to happen. What it is, I don't know. Whether he's dismissed, as one national report has already come out and said earlier today, or whether there's a reassignment of sorts, whether there's a promotion of sorts, whether starters change on the field. All those things are in play at this point, Brian.
Yeah, you know, obviously there has to be a change made in some sense, Kenny. To me, and we'll discuss this later, but you know, you just at a loss for words as to the caliber of play, the performance that they put forth yesterday. You know, it reminded me in many ways of the Carolina game last year. I thought they quit last year. I don't think they quit yesterday, but I will say this. They didn't match the Redskins' intensity, even come close to it. The Redskins were just outplayed them, outcoached them, and it befuddles me how this team can drop so low in its performance week in and week out and be so erratic. Look good one week and just, you know, horrible the next week. And that's a direct reflection, again, on coaching and not getting a team up to play, and the players not performing at a level that's expected of them as professionals.
Well, you know, and looking at yesterday, going into the game, I mean, he must have coached at the Redskins like Gruden. I mean, when he went and took Gillette like that let you know that, you know, the way he felt about the Saints. You know, the Saints kind of got rid of him and said bad things about him. He went and picked him up. Yeah. So that let you know right there that these guys trying to beat you. These guys don't like you. So, I mean, even though the brother is tight with Coach, you didn't see that from the head coach of the Redskins. He was out to beat the Saints and kick the Saints' butt. So I kind of took that personal. And I think my team would have been more ready to get after these guys than what they were yesterday. And looking at some of the guys, the way they played yesterday, I mean, they just didn't have no fire with them. You know what I mean? Wasn't no hustle to them.
Just to illustrate how bad the Saints defense has been, all you need to do is look at the performance of opposing quarterbacks. It's been truly amazing over an elongated period of time. But look at the last 3 games of opposing quarterbacks against the Saints. Of course, Eli, 6 touchdowns, no picks. Marcus Mariota looked like Tom Brady with 4 touchdowns and no interceptions. And then, of course, you got Kirk Cousins with 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And as a result, the Saints are the first team in NFL history to allow 3 straight games of 4+ touchdowns and no interceptions. You talk about futility and the inability to stop a team's passing game, and that doesn't even address the opposing team's running game. this is about as bad as it gets, Brian. This defense is basically non-existent.
Yeah, you know, you look at the 2012 when they set a record for most yardage allowed in NFL history, and this club now is challenging that figure. 28 touchdown passes this defense has allowed. This club has 4 interceptions. That's a minus 24 interception touchdown ratio. I mean, that just speaks volumes of where this club is right now. You know, and they have plummeted to depths, Kenny, that I never would have thought would have happened, okay? And again, we will address where we think the problems lie, but it's everything. It's personnel, it's coaching, and a lack of preparation. And for the life of me, the Redskins came in with no offense. They hadn't rushed the ball for over 50 yards, I think, in the last 4 games, and they suddenly look like a ground machine under Jake Gruden. So, you know, they've got serious problems ending the season here.
Well, I mean, you know, they're taking advantage of what they see other teams doing. It's just like you're saying about Denver. Once Denver shows you what you can do with your team, that same thing. It shows you what you can run on the Saints. And they got some young boys that they drafted, the running back, 3rd round draft choice. You know what I mean? These guys want to play. So when they get out there, they're young, they're fast, and they hit the holes real good. I mean, and the big offensive linemen had a lot of holes. I think, you know, they kind of velcroed on guys, got stuck on guys yesterday. And that's what I was saying. Nobody didn't really come out and take advantage of the game like they should have. You know, and it was just unbelievable to see the Saints play like that on TV.
The litmus test for a really good offensive performance in the NFL, really good, is a 400-yard offensive performance. And then there are the games where you allow 500 yards to an opposing offense. When that happens, you've got a major problem. Check it out. The most 500-yard games allowed by NFL teams since 2012. The New Orleans Saints are far and away the winner in this category you don't want to win. 8 times they've allowed 500 yards or more, twice this year. Dallas 5, Raiders 5, Bills, Cardinals, Eagles at 4. But I think that's a perfect illustration of how inept this defense has been. I mean, that's historically bad, Brian. No one else comes close.
Yeah, you know, when you think when Rob Ryan came on board in 2013, they were the 4th-ranked defense in the league and showed signs that, you know, maybe they're turning a corner here.
More on that a little bit later in the show.
But this year, they've fallen to depths, you know, that's unbelievable.
But, but one thing you can say now, all due respect to coach, he don't have the type of players that they had before he got here.
And again, we'll talk more about that later in the show.
Because what you see out there, what he's working with, I mean, you don't expect much more than what he gets.
But Ricky, I want to talk about the offense because all the focus has been on the defense, and the defense has been terrible. And we'll address it, as I mentioned, in our hot seat segment. But this offense was awful in the second half. They didn't score a point. They had a drive to start the second half. Mark Ingram's banged up. He's not in the game. They can't convert a 3rd and 1 or a 4th and 1. And after that, it's over with. They did absolutely nothing. So this game is not all on the defense.
Yeah, but once Colson let the ball go through his hand, they got the interception for the touchdown. That kind of broke the spirit of the team.
Yeah, but
they were beaten by then anyway.
Yeah, it was over by then, Ricky. And Willie Snead. Where was Willie Snead in this?
Well, he was hurt coming into the game.
But how can you not get him the ball?
All week.
And Mark Ingram was out for a very crucial time, and that kind of went under the radar there. But you're right, Kenny. They didn't do really anything from about the 5th minute of the second quarter on. They could not produce anything, generate anything. No running game.
But the long ball was there all day. They couldn't stop the long ball. We had 2 time with it, and we didn't go back to it anymore.
But can they protect the passer well enough to even do that? Yeah. I mean, how many times is Breeze going to get drilled? Yesterday gets his helmet dislodged. The previous week got stitches in his chin. He's getting banged around all over the place. And whether it's guys getting beaten or it's just miscommunication, they've got a problem protecting the passer, Ricky.
Yeah, well, I understand that too, Cam, but you know you got to move too. You see all these quarterbacks in the league, these guys moving. I mean, so you got to, you know, they try to roll them out, but guys getting hip to that now. But you got to be able to move in that pocket now these days when you ain't got a great offensive line.
If there's ever a game where you want to take a look at somebody, such as a rookie quarterback, this would have been the game. The game's over in the 4th quarter. Garrett Grayson's your backup quarterback. If he does, in fact, have a chance to be your future quarterback, why not give him a shot? There was one camera shot in the game where Drew Brees is waving toward the sideline, get off. I'm going to stay in here, and we're going to run this play. We're not going to pick or anything else. Brian, was this a missed opportunity in that regard?
Yeah, you know, it depends on what they wanted to do. As we saw on that particular play, he did wave off. And I know people have taken exceptions to that, saying that he shouldn't have done it. But you know what? The beautiful thing about Breeze and Peyton is that they've got a great relationship, okay? That may not happen elsewhere around the league. But I don't blame. I like that competitive spirit in Drew. Now,
Coach has to make decisions.
Yeah.
he does have to. He didn't look.
And Brian, one thing, Coach didn't really seem like to me. He didn't really know what was going
Oh
on.
no, he didn't. I was going to say he's probably the one that looked bad in this whole situation.
Because he didn't really know what was going on.
No,
because it wasn't. He didn't take control. He didn't take charge of the situation.
I agree.
He let the player take charge of the situation, and you can see that on TV that wasn't a good situation.
Yeah. But in answer to your thing, true is Grayson should have gotten in.
Yeah.
He should have gotten in. You want to protect your starting quarterback at that point. Get that kid some snaps.
Today's Sports NOLA TV is brought to you by our good and great friends at Premier Chrysler Jeep Dodge, located at 13,000 I-10 Service Road in New Orleans East. At Premier, you'll get a reliable and stylish new or used car at a price you can afford with Premier's expansive inventory of new and used cars. And at Premier Chrysler Jeep Dodge, you can find your dream car. We'll let you know about some of these special deals and incentives later on in the show. We'll talk NFL when we return in a moment on Sports NOLA TV.